Fine.
Sounds good.
Bonjour à tous. Voilà. Bonjour coucou. Voilà, c'est le premier. Hein. Et Olivier dans la place. Ça va?
Hello everybody.
Bonjour à tous. On a le plaisir aujourd'hui d'accueillir Kayvon Beykpour, qui est le CEO et cofondateur de Periscope. Moi je suis Christopher Abou, je m'occupe de la communication chez Twitter. Donc on est très chanceux d'avoir Kayvon qui est à Paris pour quelques jours. On va commencer par une vingtaine de minutes de discussion avec @ppc, qui est ici, qui est un des power users de Periscope et qui a vraiment aidé à rassembler une communauté de Periscopeurs en France. On est à quelques jours des 1 an, ils ont aussi des jolies choses qui sont prévues pour ça. Et on ouvrira ensuite sur 20 minutes de questions-réponses avec la salle. Donc si vous avez des questions complémentaires à poser à Kayvon, vous n'avez pas l'occasion de le faire, il y a beaucoup de monde ce matin et on est très content et très chanceux. N'hésitez pas à venir vers Elodie ou Pauline ou moi-même, on s'assurera de suivre avec vous. Voilà.
Voilà.
Thank you.
Mon téléphone. Merci. Je te laisse.
Hi Kayvon, how are you?
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you in Paris.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, you know what? This morning I just called my mother, telling her that I would interview Kayvon Beykpour, CEO of Periscope, and just told me, what is Periscope? Can you give an answer to my mother?
I want to know what you told her. What did you say?
I told something about teleportation.
Yeah, how did that go over?
Yes, and they say, are you kidding? Seriously? I say, okay, I will ask the question to Kayvon.
She was probably more confused than when she first asked you.
So, what do you say?
What is Periscope?
Yeah.
Well, the simplest way to describe Periscope that I think everyone will understand is that we think it's the easiest way to start or watch a live video broadcast. So, most of you are familiar with what a live broadcast is because you sit on your couch at home and you watch TV, and that's something that for decades people have been used to what it's like to watch something live. What we were really interested in was to give that same capability to anyone who is walking around with their phone, because we all have phones in our pocket, they all have cameras, they all have internet connections now, but we thought it would be really powerful if we did a few things. One, we let anyone in the world use that phone to go live and have a voice, and have anyone from around the world be able to watch them. Because you never know what you see, right? You might be on the beautiful streets of Paris seeing the Arc de Triomphe, you might be at the Eiffel Tower, you might be witnessing a protest, you might be witnessing a celebration, you might be running on the beach with your dog, and sharing that moment with the world is a really powerful ability. But the other thing we're really interested in, and this is where Periscope I think starts to be different than live TV, is when you watch live TV, it's passive, right? You're on your couch, you're watching the TV host or the commentator or the sports match or whatever it might be, but it's a one-directional experience. You can't affect what you're seeing. You're just watching. With Periscope, we thought it would be really powerful to make that experience two-directional, right? That's why the viewers in Periscope can actually interact with the broadcaster. They can say, hey, show me the Eiffel Tower, and then 2 seconds later, the broadcaster turns the phone and shows the Eiffel Tower, or you can ask a question that gets answered. And that we thought was really the magic of Periscope, is creating that feedback loop between the audience and the broadcaster.
Okay, but just tell that to my mother, for sure. Every great startup has a story about her garage. Let's talk about your garage. Where do you have the idea? Why do you create Periscope, and how?
Well, I think really the beginning was Joe and I. My co-founder's name is Joe Bernstein, and we've been best friends since we were in 4th grade. We always wanted to build things together. We started playing video games together. We started building computers together. We built our first company together before Periscope. And then after that company, we both traveled and took some time off, and we wanted to build another company. And at the time, we were doing a lot of traveling, and one of the trips that I was going on was to Turkey. And I had my tickets booked to Istanbul, and this was in 2013, so there was a bit of civil unrest in Turkey, and there were some protests. I don't know if you remember the Taksim Square protests in Istanbul. And I remember thinking to myself, is it safe for me to go to Istanbul? Because I watch CNN, I watch BBC, I even look at Twitter, and you see these pictures and videos of violence on the streets and chaos, and my mom was not very happy about me going there. I remember talking to Joe and thinking to myself, why can't I see what's happening right now on the streets of Istanbul. Not even the streets, like a single street, the street that my hotel was on. If I could see a picture or a video of what's happening right this moment, that would be a really great articulation to me of, is it safe? You know, is there tear gas? Is there violence? Or is it fine? And you know, Joe and I talked about how there's probably thousands of people who walk by that street every day. They all have smartphones. They all have internet connections. Why isn't there a way for me to see what they see? And that was the initial seed for Periscope. We wanted to build a virtual Periscope for the world, where we could see through other people's eyes someplace in the world and have those eyes direct us or have us direct them. So that's where it started.
Okay. What was the very first version of Periscope and what made the difference?
You know, the first version of Periscope, we really, for a while, we focused on just making the video work, right? It was not easy to make low latency live video broadcasting. And when we say low latency, we mean we want it to be really live. When you watch live TV, it's not actually like live. It's maybe 60 seconds delayed, which is fine for live TV because we want super high quality. It doesn't need to be live because it's not interactive between the audience. But if you want the audience to be able to direct the broadcaster, it has to be as close to zero latency as possible. So the first version of Periscope just had live video that was reasonably low latency. And then we started really focusing on the experience and making it feel great to broadcast. So that's when we added the hearts and the comments, and really the purpose of the hearts was making it charming to be live. Because if it wasn't charming to be live, we don't think people would use it. It's kind of scary to be live on camera. So that's kind of how we started evolving from there.
How many versions before the launch?
Hundreds.
Hundreds versions.
It's hard to, it depends on how you define a version, but every time you change a line of code, that's technically a new version. But we had hundreds of versions that we would release to friends or family or friends of friends, and we would test Periscope in a very small group of maybe 30 people, 50 people eventually, before we actually released it to the world.
Could you tell us why live is so important for people and what is exactly the power of live?
I think the power of live is that you know what you're seeing is happening right now, right? It's not filtered, it's not edited, it hasn't been tampered with. And that's very powerful as a fundamental concept, especially when you're looking at a breaking news event or it's a citizen journalism context. Because you know, people want to know that what you're seeing is authentic. There's something really powerful, particularly when you're watching something that's somewhere else in the world, knowing that this thing is happening right now. It makes the world feel both. What I love about Periscope is it makes the world feel both really large and really small at the same time. And I think that's the power of live. That when you see a beautifully shot photo or a video that's been composed, I mean, the power of video is incredible, right? I used to do a lot of filmmaking when I was in high school and college, and I love the ability to tell a story through different photos and videos captured over time, but there's something really raw about live. And I think the key of it is in that it's live. What you get with something like Periscope or another live medium is that there's interaction between the person watching and the person creating that cannot exist on any other medium because it's live. And that, I think, is the real magic of Periscope.
Do you really think that everybody has stories to share on video live?
I think that, I mean, it's a really interesting question, right? Because I think as the world evolves, more and more people have these capabilities, whether it's to go live or to take a photo or to write a blog post and put it on the internet or to send a tweet. And some people have interesting things to say, and some people have a big enough audience that even if what they say isn't interesting, people will listen. And some people don't have a big audience and have something very interesting to say, and some people don't have a big audience and don't have anything interesting to say. But the beauty of platforms like Twitter and Periscope is that the right voice can find its audience. And sometimes that audience is big, sometimes it's small, and sometimes it's surprising, and sometimes it's not. Our focus is to build the platform and build the tools that allow those voices to be carried and allow those audiences to find the voices they want.
Let's talk about use cases of Periscope. One of the best use cases of Periscope that we have seen, and do you have French example?
You know, we think the beauty of Periscope is that the use cases are very broad. There isn't a single use case that is the use case, but there's a spectrum. You know, on one hand you have Roger Federer giving a tour of Wimbledon. On the other hand, you have an astronaut doing a Q&A, or you have a musician filming their practice, or filming the concert from stage, or you have Gerard Piqué talking about the match afterwards and how he felt after they won, and you have everything in between. You've got people playing collaborative games on Periscope. You have hairstylists giving lessons on how to design hair. You have professional calligraphy artists drawing live on Periscope. You have journalists showing important. Paul Ronzimir is a reporter for Bild, and he travels all around the world. And one of the things he often does is he covers the Syrian refugee crisis. And just the other day, I think it was 4 or 5 days ago, he was showing a bunch of migrants crossing the river in Greece. And I remember I just landed in Paris. It was Monday or Tuesday, and I looked at there's a newspaper in the airport. I think it was Le Monde, and there was a big picture of that same river where Paul was the day before, and showing a bunch of migrants crossing the river. And I remember thinking to myself, I watched this live. That was a day ago. And it's powerful to be able to see an image like that in Le Monde and see the reporter kind of write an article about it, but it's also very powerful to be able to see it unfolding live. So to me, the beautiful thing is the same tool can be used to share all of these things, whether it's news and some breaking news event, or whether it's the way I use Periscope oftentimes with my friends and my family. My parents are saying, you're in Paris right now, show me what you're seeing. And I private broadcast to them all the time. I private broadcast to my friends. I'll show my dog running around on the beach. Like the entire spectrum of what happens in the world, which is a lot of things, is possible to be shared on a tool like this.
Okay. The app is #1 on the French App Store, and we are seeing incredible surge of Periscope broadcast from France. If you use the map, you see a lot of red balls on the map. How do you understand about French usage versus the other usage all around the world?
I think the way people are using it in France is fascinating, but it's not necessarily different from the way other people use it. It's that same spectrum. You see the same spectrum we just talked about of how people use it in France is represented around the world. But you're just having this incredible concentration right now because Periscope has had such a big surge in France. It's beautiful to be able to open up the map in Periscope and see all those red dots. Last night at the community event that we had, I was talking to a few people, yourself included, and we were just zooming in. And literally any neighborhood you go into in Paris, there are at least 10 broadcasts live in that neighborhood right that moment. So it's been amazing. And the fact that we have been in the top 3, I don't know if we're still #1, maybe we're 2 or 3, is incredible, but it's also something that we don't try and fixate on that too much, because the way the App Store and the way the Google Play Store work is you have these apps that rise and plateau and then come up again and come down again. And that roller coaster you have to be very patient with. But for us, the reminder is we just have to build something that is powerful and that works and that people love to use. And if we do all of those things, then we think that over time people will use it more and more. But we don't want to get too infatuated with the fact that it happens to be #1 in the App Store. Because it's actually, it takes a long time to build something that people like to use in the long term.
So now let's talk about vision and strategy. Periscope is nearly 1 year old, and how do you imagine the app in March 2007?
17,
sorry. And
where is 7?
Yes, sorry.
The iPhone had just been released.
For sure. And where is Periscope going?
There's a lot of things that we need to do over time, and we like to look at them in themes. I mean, one theme that's really important to us is we want to invest in tools that make broadcasters more powerful. In 2017, I want broadcasters to be able to have more control around what they can do with their broadcasts. How can they be more creative with their audience? How can they reach more people? And how can they have more control around who sees their broadcast and how long they see their broadcast? The other thing that we're really interested in as a theme is discovery, right? Like you open Periscope right now and you see hundreds of broadcasts just in France live. How do you let people find the best content? And what you may want to watch is different from what I may want to watch than what she wants to watch. And for us, that means we have to build really powerful discovery tools ultimately, personalization tools. And that's hard to do, but important for us to do, because at this moment there are, many thousands of broadcasts live around the world this very second, and not all of them are, the content that we should be serving to everyone when they first open the app. But there's probably some amazing content there, and understanding how to find that content in real time is a combination of algorithms, people, editorial strategy, and those are all things that I hope by March of 2017, you open up the app and you go, wow, I'm like, these are happening right now in the world, and I think we've got work to do to get there.
So see you in Paris next year?
Sure, you can invite me.
Thank you so much. On va peut-être laisser des questions.